Good afternoon, students. Sorry for the slight delay in I apologize for the same. So we come to the very last meeting as far as research and publication ethics is concerned. And today I'll be discussing with you the assignment portion. I'll show you the entire, discuss with you the entire assignment. It's not too complicated. It's fairly simple based on the last 10 lectures that I have taken. And of course, there are certain points you may have to just exercise your understanding and try to get the correct explanations, and you just need to put on, because this particular subject there's nothing objective about it, in the sense that you don't have to calculate any quantities, you don't have any equations, and so it's pretty simple that way. It's just a interpretation of understanding of ethics and what are the certain minimum procedures one should follow during the course of scientific conduct as well as publication. So let's go ahead with discussing this assignment. Basically the total marks is 50, and so this is called assignment 2 because assignment 1 was on research methodology that was taken by Professor B.S. Tomer. So that's why this will become the assignment 2 for the entire course. So let's start the assignment now, and the time given is about 15 to 16 days. But in case you feel that you need more time at the end of this lecture, you please let me know. And so I have no problem, absolutely no problem in trying to give you more time. But I'm sure that people as understanding as you are, I'm sure this time will be more than. But just in case anyone would require more time, let me know. Okay, so there will be first section A and then section B. In section A, there will be about there will be around 12 questions, out of which you will have to do only 10. You have to answer only 10, and each question carries only 1 mark. So they are all basically short questions. And as you can see, they're pretty simple. So what is meant by philosophy and ethics? Some definitions. And how will you define research integrity? Then define plagiarism and name the different types of plagiarism. So as you see that since these are supposed to be short questions, you don't have to explain anything in detail for this question. So you just need to give the basic definitions and or whatever asked. And how will you define scientific misconduct? Then name some popular plagiarism detection software. Then continuing question 1, what are redundant publications? What is selective reporting? And what is data misinterpretation? Then what is the meaning of acronym HOPE? What are conflicts of interest? What is authorship? And finally, give 2 reasons for the proliferation of predatory journals. So these are a set of 12 questions, out of which you can answer any 10. So this is this section A. Then we have section B. So section B comprises 8 questions, each carry 5 marks. So there's a total of 40 marks for section B. Section A carries 10 marks, this is 40 marks. So total 51. So we get started with section B, and each question in section B has 4 choices, A, B, C, D. So the first question is, first part of question 2, A, can nuclear war be morally justified? And give reasons for your answer. So the question, of course, is very small question, but I'm sure you understand that the meaning explanations are quite deep. It's a very deep, heavy question. So whether a nuclear war can be morally justified or not. You know, going by the history of nuclear war, we have only one instance where nuclear weapons were used. That was in Japan. So based on that experience and trying to extrapolate that experience to the present day, you need to justify whether nuclear war is morally, you need to explain whether nuclear war can be morally justified. Then, when it was actually the weapons were used, and now the weapons have not been used, as you know, as given by the latest situation in the world, everyone is on the tenterhooks, especially the nuclear arsenal in the 2 major nuclear weapon countries. They are on the absolute alert. And what can happen if such a war takes place now? Then the next choice in question 2 is again something to do with ethics. Mind you, this question 2 is entirely dealing with ethics, philosophy and ethics. So you must have heard of these new self-driving cars. Of course, they have not yet come to India, but they have already started appearing in the West. They are called autonomous vehicles. And they are supposed to be the vehicles of the future, where you don't need a driver at all. The car can drive on its own. So the driver is replaced with an artificial intelligence-based robotic system, which drives the car. And of course, this artificial intelligence-driven system is, of course, it's manually is made by a human. So these codes, artificial intelligence codes, are made by technologists. Now, the scenario which is given to you is this. Such a self-driving car is cruising along the road with some passengers, and suddenly a pedestrian starts crossing the road illegally. See, what do you mean by saying a pedestrian starts crossing the road illegally? That means he is not using a zebra crossing or a pedestrian crossing, and he's just jaywalking on the road. Of course, this is not a very big thing in India. Find pedestrian walking everywhere on the roads. Okay, but the West, where these cars have been actually already invented and operation, this is a very serious issue in the West. When a pedestrian crosses a road illegally, he is responsible if anything happens to him. In case some accident happens to him, he cannot claim for any insurance or any compensation. So when suddenly a pedestrian starts crossing the road illegally and comes directly in the path of the car. Now the situation given to you is such that if the car applies, see, this is again a thought experiment, but it comes very close to reality. The situation is that if the car applies brakes, it will definitely harm the passengers. So if the car brakes, the passengers will sustain some injury. How serious we don't? It can be serious also. But if it doesn't apply the brakes, the pedestrian would be hit. Now, if you are in charge of programming the car's artificial intelligence system, how will you do it to react to such a situation? Okay. So, how would you program, assuming you are a programmer, how would you program the car's artificial intelligence to react to this situation? And for whatever answers you would like to give, you must also give some reasoning for the answers. So I hope you understood the question. Then continuing question 2, part C. Mind you, you have to answer any one of them. Okay. This is again sort of a thought experiment. You try to remember the last time you had to make a tough decision and you were extremely worried whether you were doing the right thing at that time and wondered about what you should have been actually doing. I'm sure you must have faced these situations at some point of time earlier in your life. So try to remember one such incident where you had to make an extremely difficult choice. So reflecting on those thoughts, then you must have, of course, taken some decision. So you explain how you have come up with that particular decision that you took. So what were the reasoning which went in your thought processes at that point of time that made you come up with a particular decision? So that's the other choice in this question. And the last choice in this question is if science should have an ethical framework, what should be the basis of such an ethical framework? So here also you need to do a bit of reflecting and then try to come up with some nice answer in case you want to take up this particular choice. Then moving on, we have next question, question 3. A would be, how will you differentiate between good scientific conduct and scientific misconduct? Okay. So basically, how do you differentiate? Like you have the popular movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And so how will you differentiate between this good scientific conduct and scientific misconduct? And what are the steps you would like to take to prevent scientific misconduct happening, not only by yourself, but also by others around you? Or the other choice would be fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism are considered as very serious scientific misconducts. Now, I would like you to differentiate between these 3 cases in detail and explain. You can also explain with some case histories you are able to find out. I have given you several examples. You are welcome to choose your own case histories. So you can differentiate between these 3 very clearly and with the help of case histories, right? And then explain. And similarly, the other choice in this, the next choice would be, what are the consequences of A, data fabrication, and B, data falsification? So I have already defined these terms during the course of my lectures. So I would like you to reflect upon these 2 cases of misconduct and try to enumerate the consequences of these 2 misconducts, and also explain why why these consequences happen. What are the serious things that can result? And the last choice in this question is, Again, it's something to exercise your brain. You have discovered a novel and path-breaking idea while carrying out your research. What steps would you take in order that you get the credit that is due for you? And also, what are the steps you take and ensure that you own your research and it is not taken away by someone else? Because you are the person who has discovered a certain aspect which you find that it is very novel and it's also path-breaking. So how will you ensure that you protect your intellectual property, basically? And also not only protect your intellectual property, but also take credit for your discovery. And how will you ensure that you get the full credit for your discovery? Then question 4 would be, first choice, what are the different levels of plagiarism as defined by the UGC? And what are the levels of penalty imposed on A, research scholars, that means PhD student, and B, faculty? So this is also has been dealt by me during the course of lectures. Also, it is available everywhere. So you please try to find out and make sure that you know what are these levels of penalty. The next choice in this question would be, what are the reasons that people indulge in plagiarism? Why do people do plagiarism? Why do people plagiarize? Knowing fully well that it is incorrect, but then what makes them do this? Then the second part of the same choice, B, would be, when you're writing a manuscript, what is the correct way to use a passage or a text as it is when it is taken from a previously published paper? So there's a certain method that one should do it. So I would like to know what it is. Then the next choice is, how can you protect yourself from getting scooped? So the question is in a very small 3, 4, 5, 6 words, but it has a very deep explanation. And if you have understood properly whatever I have taught you, so you can actually write down what are the steps you would take to protect yourself from getting scooped. Then the last choice in this question is it possible to rely completely on plagiarism detection software? And give reasons for your answer. Okay, then the next question is number 5. The first choice is differentiate between duplicate publications and Salami slicing. So I have explained to you what is Salami slicing. Nothing but cutting a kakadi into small pieces, slices. So how do you differentiate between what are duplicate publications and Salami slicing? There is a subtle difference. The next choice is what are the problems caused by redundant publication? So here also you need to give an in-depth answer, giving some reasons why. First of all, write down what are the problems, and then the reasoning behind these problems. And how do you detect data misinterpretation? Then the next choice is comment on the role of ethical committees, especially in the field of medicine and biotech. Here, I have already explained to you the importance of having medical ethical committees. By medical would include both experiments involving human beings as well as animals. So, what is the role of this medical ethical committees with specific emphasis on medicine and biotech? So basically, when I say role of ethical committees, I mean, how do they ensure that the experiments which are being undertaken in fields like medicine and biotechnology, how it is ensured that ethical standards are followed? Okay. Like, harming human beings during experimentation or even animals. The next question is number 6. And the first choice is, why do you need to publish your scientific research? On the face of it, looks a very obvious question. But then, what is the need really to publish scientific research? So you must explain in detail. Then why should there be ethical standards in publishing scientific research? So again, I have touched upon these topics in great detail during my lectures. So I'm sure those of you who have taken notes, or you can also go through the lectures again if you're not, and you'll find the answers. The next choice is, in the world of scientific research and publishing, who may have conflicts of interest? And elaborate on your answers. So I have dealt with this particular topic in great detail. So what are conflicts of interest, declared conflict of interest, undeclared conflict of interest, and how they affect and and what are the consequences? That comes, of course, in the next question. Differentiate between declared and undeclared conflict of interest. So you can answer any one choice among these 4. And then number 7, we have, what is publication misconduct? Who commits these misconducts? And what are the consequences? The next choice here is, assume that you have written a manuscript based on your thesis work, and you wish to communicate the same to a journal. Now, how will you decide on the authors and indicate the order in which you would give the author names on the manuscript? Of course, other than your own name, it's not necessary for you to give the actual names of other people involved. You can just simply write the name. Instead of the name, you can write it as PhD supervisor, or a fellow scholar, or a postdoc in the lab, or an attendant assistant in your lab, or whatever. And once you have the author list, you give reasons for choosing this particular order of authors, why you have chosen this order of authors. And next, assuming that you have chosen this author list as fairly as possible, it so happens that one of the authors, he expresses disagreement over the order of names. Now, if you face such a situation, what are the steps that you will take to resolve this issue? Then the next choice in this question is, You imagine that you have measured this set of data where uh, so you have one set of data points like that, but you find that there is one point which has fallen out of the uh, nice curve which you draw a nice curve. So you found one data point. And the problem is that you have been asked to submit a report on this experiment by the evening or the next day immediately. Now that you found one data point, which is an outlying data point there, and it's spoiling the nice smooth behavior of your curve. Now, the question is basically, what will you do? You're supposed to submit a report the next day or that evening or whatever, very quickly. So how will you submit the report given this set of data? And whichever way you submit, you give reasons for your. Okay. Then the next choice, the last choice in this question is, what are the criteria which have been laid down by ICMJE for a person to be qualified as an author? And you just don't have, you should not just give the criteria, but you must explain why those criteria are chosen for a person to be considered as an author. So you need to elaborate on those criteria. Then the next question, number 8, is this is the 7th question in section B. Differentiate between host authorship, guest authorship, orphan authorship, and paused authorship. So when I say you differentiate, you must also give reasons why these terms exist, and also what are the consequences of these 4 different authorships. So that means what happens when a person happens to be a ghost author, what happens when a person is a guest author, and what happens when a person is an orphan author, and what happens when a person is a forged author. I have already given you the definitions of all these authors, different types of authorships. And authorship misconducts. So you must differentiate between these authorship disputes and authorship misconduct. And it will be very helpful if you actually give some examples, whether it's from your own experience or whatever you find, write down and try to explain terms. Then what is a contribution statement in a paper? And what is this credit taxonomy? So when I say what is this, just don't write the definition and be done with it. Please explain, okay, why these things have come about, what was the necessity to have these statements published along with the paper or an article. Earlier, this was not done at all, but these days, for a very specific, for certain specific reasons, this is done. So I would like you to explain why these statements are sought by the journal. The last choice in this question is, you find that a paper that you have published has been plagiarized by some other author in a different journal. So what are the steps you would take to bring this matter to the attention of the scientific community? because you are an affected party. Your work has been plagiarized and published. So now we need the relevant scientific community aware that you have published this work much earlier, and there's someone else down the line who has come and then simply taken your work and published it as his own. So how would you bring this to the attention of the relevant scientific community? And again, what will be the role that institutions can play in both cases? That means your own institution as well as the institution or the author who has actually plagiarized your work. So what will be the role of these two institutions? Okay, so now we come to the last question in the assignment. The first choice, what are institutional ethics committees and how do they help in maintaining standards of ethical conduct? The next choice is differentiate between subscription-based journals and open access journals. So you must give some explanation about what these two are. In the process, bringing out very clearly the difference between them. Then the next choice is what are these hybrid open access journals? I already explained to you what the hybrid open access journals are. And comment on this term double dipping. And the other term is lack of discoverability. Why are these two unique to hybrid open access journals? And the final choice is what are predatory journals and publishers? How can you detect if a journal is predatory or not? And what are the steps being taken by the UGC to stop the predatory journals from harming the interests of Indian scientists? So that completes the assignment questions. And I have put it time, as I have said, that about 15 days time, March 31st. And you must submit your assignments to your respective coordinators of your constituent institution. In case you do not have a specific coordinator for the institution, you may please send it to the coordinator of this course on research methodology, Professor B.S. Toma. And again, in case you find that this time is too short for you, please let me know so we can extend it by say another 10 days or so, which I personally don't feel you may require this time, but in case you would like more time other than this 31st March. 31st March is a nice date, end of the financial year also. But anyway, in case you would like more time, please let me know. So I will throw open this session now for discussion. So in case you have any questions, you can ask me now. Okay, the first request is please extend deadline by 10 days. Okay, any more? Please extend deadline by 10 days. Any questions? If you wish, you can unmute yourself also and then if you want, you can unmute yourself and ask also in case, or you want any specific question about the paper or something like that. Any word limits for the answers? Absolutely no. No limits. You can take as much as you want. Assignments, slides. Please make the lectures and assignment slides available for us to download. I think it's already available on Anuvidya. If they are not available on Anuvidya, the lectures, of course, are available on YouTube, but I think most of the lectures will be made available to you on Anuvidya. So that will be definitely done. Please extend the date up to 15th April. Okay, we have 2 requests already. Please share the PDFs of the lectures too. Yes, definitely. It will be put up on Anuvidya. How will we submit this assignment? The same way as you're doing it for the assignment 1. Okay. So whatever you have been told for the assignment 1, it's absolutely the same way. And is there any specific format for submitting the assignment, handwritten or LaTeX file? See, LaTeX file, I'm not so sure because there are going to be several coordinators here, and whether all of them will have the LaTeX software with them, I don't know. I can work with LaTeX, no problem, but I can't say this for everyone else. So it will be nice if you can keep it as simple as possible. Maybe you can do it in Word, possible, simplest, I would say, or any other such method where everyone can read it as easily as possible. So whether it has to be hard copy or not, I suggest you follow the same principle which has been told to you for assignment 1 on research methodology by Dr. T.S. Thomas. Can't we submit the final PDF generated by LaTeX? Well, I have no problem with that. You can definitely do it. I don't think there should be any issue if you can submit a PDF file. I have a generally question. We normally judge a research based on the journal in which it is published. However, it should be the quality of research that should be considered in assessment of quality of a journal. I think I answered this question when someone asked in the earlier lecture about impact factors. So unfortunately, as I said, there's a tendency to judge a research which has been published on a journal in which the impact factor is very high. But I was trying to say that that should not be the case, and it should be the quality of the research, the article, paper, which should be considered rather than the impact factor of the journal. I suppose it explains that question. Extend the date up to 15th April. Okay, fine. So since most of you have requested 15th April as the time, so please go ahead. Yeah, Mr. Kochar, you can unmute yourself and Sumit Kochar. Yeah. Unmute. Yeah, please. Mr. Kochar.
Sir, it was by mistake. Sorry.
Okay, fine. No issues. Yeah, we were not told any specific format for submitting the assignment. Yeah, there is no specific format. What I am giving you are purely descriptive questions. So you can simply write it using Word or any other software, but you must make it easy for people to read the whichever format you will be sending. And so don't expect people or the coordinators to compile the LaTeX file and then read your assignment. So keep it in the final form, either a PDF or Word. It should not be any problem. Okay, any more questions? Okay, if there are no more questions on the other chat, also you can just check if there are any more questions. Please extend the date by 10 days. Yes, done. Now the new date will be 15th of April. In Anuvidya, YouTube link is available, sir. Videos are not so far updated. It will be done very soon. Don't worry. Whether the answer sheet will be endorsed by the candidate. These, I'm sorry, I just don't know this aspect of the rules. You can ask your coordinators about this aspect, and in case your coordinators request you to do it, you please do. What is the difference between redundant and duplicate publications? Okay, duplicate publications are a subset of redundant publications. Okay, so you can go through my lectures earlier on that topic, and you can get the answer. Any other questions, please? Okay. Okay, fine. So there are no more questions. Stop the lecture. So thank you very much. It was nice being with all of you for the last days. It was our last 10 lectures. I hope you have gained something out of this listening to this lectures, and I wish you all the best in your research work. Yes, module 2 classes are completed. Thank you very much.